Hello and welcome to another edition of the SPFL Through the Lens. With me tonight is just myself and Jason. How we doing, mate?
You pal? Doing okay, are you?
Good, I'm good. Really
Good.
Just thoroughly enjoying these Euros. That'll be some game tonight, France and Portugal.
Yep. Some of the games have been great, haven't they?
Aye. That looked like some games, Sweden and Poland.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, really good. I thought Poland were going to nick it right at the end there when they were 2-0 down. Poland back to Lewandowski's almost to get the 2 goals here, but...
Did you see one of the goals? That's
I watched it.
Unreal.
Yeah, really good game.
Right, I've got a wee bee in my bonnet. I've took an absolute ribbon this week for you, for Sean, and for Crammy. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, behold.
Rangers don't play.
Who says I'm not a good Scotsman? Scotland.
Oh my! I bet you that's a Rangers tartan.
That's a Scotland tartan, by the way.
No chance. No chance.
That's a Scotland tartan.
Oh my word!
Who says I'm not a proud Scot?
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
You're a bunch of school Johnnies. I was going to bring the bagpipes out and everything.
Yeah, we're patriotic tonight. We've got our own Scotland tops on.
I've seen that. Nice top.
Peter, press stop. Somebody's coming to my door.
Right, so, as I says, now I could prove... Show a bit of thigh there, know what I mean?
Yeah. He's not. The face is bad enough, never mind the backside.
I don't know, I need to get you guys back.
So the question is, did you watch the game yesterday, Pierre?
I did. Obviously, Croatia were the better team.
Yeah.
Some of the goals that they scored were pretty good. I don't know about the selection. I don't think I would have changed the selection. Would you have?
No, I think it really tells a story. I had a wee Facebook rant last night because I knew it was going to happen. Clark out, he's got the right selection and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, wait a minute, I can understand the fact that if we weren't creating chances, and team selection was horribly wrong, then I would say, yeah, okay, fair dues, yeah, it's a fair point, but do you know what? Over the last 3 games, the first game, in my opinion, killed us. I would probably say he's maybe didn't want to get beat in the first game. But you look at his starting lineup as well. Armstrong, McGinn. I mean, everybody was talking about Billy Gilmour, and rightly so in the second game because the England game he was outstanding for the young man. So was everybody else. Everybody had a job to do. I think there was probably we underestimated the Croatians. I didn't buy into this media, they're too old and all this kind of, I just did not get that one bit. No. I look at coming for the English media, and still so, even today when I was listening to the radio, I'm going, oh wow, they obviously never watched the game, and we could have been a wee bit standoff, but do you know what? I thought Modric was outstanding. I think that's the game which will now kick the Croatians into the tournament, into touch, because I thought they were superb last night. I really do. I think, though, as a country, though, we should be extremely proud of getting to the first tournament like that in about 23 years or whatever the hell it is. But it tells us that our strike force, we need to find, and I think, and I'm not just saying this based on this tournament, even going back to like the McCoist era and whatever, Alan McCoist was probably the only recognised striker we actually had. And the last time we got to a tournament, which I think was England 96, I think it was, and he obviously scored. And I mean, I think the first two games, I think he was on the bench. If I can remember, he was injured the first game and he got dropped.
He started full 3 games, but
for me, I think we've always been a defensively strong country. It's just probably in our history. But going back to Alex McLeish, Willie Miller, all these guys, Alan Hansen, quality at the back, and I like this year how we've been more attacking with it. We've got probably one of the 2 best fullbacks worldwide, and Tierney and Robertson, and I give Clark credit for getting them into a way of playing which complemented both of them.
Yeah,
I just think we just fell short up top.
I think which caught me was this year with the tournament, how it's gripped the nation. Now, how many houses have you seen with the saltire or the Scotland flag and the bunting and everything else on the windows? And everyone seems to have showed a lot of pride towards the Scotland team. And it shows that with the viewing figures, because the viewing figures apparently have been through the roof. I mean, the England game the other night, there was 20 million folk. What killed us was the first game against the Czechs. That's a game we should have won. They had 19 chances. Now, when's the Scotland squad have 19 opportunities to score in the game? And that's, just as you rightly said, it's been a sort of quality goal scorer that's let us down. I mean, because at the end of the day, but when you, on the flip side, when you look at the England team and the scoring opportunity, the scoring sort of goal scoring quality they've got, they only scored 2 goals in the 3 games. So they're not better off.
Apart today, there's not really been a lot of high-scoring games. All right, Spain today, I think it finished, was it 5-0? It just finished there.
The Germany game.
The Germany game, but apart from that, it's a bit nip and tuck. I think we should have won it. I think we should have won the England game.
Likewise.
I think, and I'll take my hat off to Steve O'Donnell. He got heavily criticised after the first game. Second game, quality. If there's anything I could probably say, and again, we're all managers behind a keyboard after the game's finished, especially after that defeat. And I reckon on yesterday's game, once it went 2-1, I then would have put Patterson on, just to say to O'Donnell, listen, you've had a great game, but it's done well, we need to go for it now. I'd have put Forrest on. I was trying to figure out where Ryan Fraser was playing when he came on, because I was like, is he playing as a 10 or is he playing, and we went a front 3, and I was just trying to figure out,
it seemed to play out in the wide, out in the left,
Aye, but it was like, then he was coming in field, like playing more central. So I was saying, are they just hit London Bikes and looking for Ryan Fraser for a knock-on or whatever? I would have taken him off, to be honest. I would have went Forrest, Che Adam, and Fraser on the other side, just went for 3 and just went for it.
Well, as I said on social media last night, I would have took Adams off. I didn't think the way Scotland played last night was sort of route 1, where it was just punting it up front in the hope that Dykes would win the header, which in a lot of occasions he did.
Yeah.
I thought Adams was too far off him. They were too far apart, and there were too much of a gap between the strike force and the midfield. So anything that he was winning in the air, when they were knocked down, we weren't winning the second balls. And then all of a sudden, the Czechs, Croatia were back on us. And it was just that was the sort of story of the game, I think. When they were passing it through midfield, they were very rarely losing possession. Modric was just running the show. His goal, he took it very, very well. I mean, you can tell he's just oozing class.
Yeah, yeah.
But see, before the tournament started, I think the Scotland fans and the Scotland teams, we were just happy to be there. It's just a pity that they couldn't have allowed all the fans in. We could have a better crowd, and
I think we need to look at it as a nation and say this is still a young squad. I think some of these guys have maybe they've definitely got a World Cup, and I think they'll have a European Championship based on that squad. I look at guys who potentially could be coming through and challenging more, like guys obviously Billy Gilmer, your man Patterson, David Turnbull. These guys are named, but a few they've got a huge career ahead of them. I mean, providing they're no injury free.
They're talking about the young players like Gilmore and all that. What's your opinion on this crazy carry on with the COVID? It's a bit strange, is it no?
Yeah. Am I right in saying the two English lads, so he was Mason Mount and Declan Rice, did they not catch it as well?
No, apparently they've been negative, have they not?
Chilwell,
was it Chilwell or Chilwell or something like that?
Just the fullback.
Aye, and Mount, because they were allegedly speaking to him for half an hour. You can speak to him for 15 minutes, but half an hour you can't. But yet, when he was coming off, Steve Clark was hugging him and touching his sweaty head and everything else, but he was free and all the rest of them. You know what it's like. You get in a dressing room. If you get a good result, they boys would have been jumping about each other in that dressing room.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone's fine.
And by the way, this shows you how our country and a lot of the English fans, I mean, I looked on Twitter after the game, and I would say 70% of us were very happy with a draw. But there was that 30% say, well, it was only a draw. And the realisation there has to be is we've got 5 million population. Not everybody buys into football, so you can split that down to I don't know what the facts and figures would be, but you're talking about England, who 50 million they've got. And I mean, people English friends who say, why do you really hate us that much when it comes to games? And once you start talking to them about 66 getting thrown in your face, even still to this day, how they look at the SPFL and say it's not even a championship, and they don't look at the players inside the squad, and they just constantly just belittle the game up here. And is it the glossy Premiership? No, it's not. It's nowhere near it. But we managed to produce players who end up coming from here, go to the Championship, go to the Premiership, because I think we had actually about 6 or 7 Premiership players.
I think the count was about 9, was it no? And that's what I was trying to say before. I think this is the best. I think the last time we had that many Scottish international players playing in England's top league, you'd need to look back to the 80s.
Yeah. I heard. I was listening to TalkSport this morning.
Simon Jordan.
I really enjoy that, the Jim White show. And he hit it in the nail. We've got 2 world-class fullbacks, both left back, and Wales have got a quality, a world-class midfielder and a quality world-class striker. And wins you games, put the ball in the back of the net.
This is where our argument with regards to population and all that falls down, because see, if you look at the population of Wales,
was it 3.5 million or something?
I mean, they got to, what was it, the semi-final, the last Euros?
Yeah.
And now they're into the next round of this one. I mean, they've got a good squad, so what are they doing that we're not doing? It's one of those ones.
I think if you to weigh that up though, Peter, you look at the Wales defence, and would you have the Wales defence or the Scotland defence? I think you're going to turn around and say that's an easy one, it's the Scotland defence. You look at Wales midfield, and you look at Scotland midfield, and you probably still turn around and say, I would probably still have the biggest majority of Scottish guys. It's when you go up top. I mean, Gareth Bale. You just have to say, I've never mind whoever else plays up there. Gareth Bale, he's world class, isn't he? He's just.
He's just. What concerns me, even though we've got a great looking team, the new. Did you think we're going to be needing a goalkeeper shortly?
It's a good point. Yeah, I just look at who's coming through. I was so disappointed when I seen Lee Griffiths in the first game sitting in the stand, and I'm going, whatever's happening in your life now, or whatever. I mean, you should be real about that environment. I mean, last night in particular for me would have been the game, and you can't blame Steve Clark for this because he wasn't playing with his club. That's a fact. So sorry, the Steve Clark haters need to have a look at themselves and say, would you not pick Griffiths for? Well, he wasn't playing with his club under Lennon or John Kennedy, so there's other things happening there which he needs help with. Mm-hmm. Don't know what it is, but he needs obviously some sort of help with it. But I think if a fit Lee Griffiths was there, he would have played in all three games. Not the full game, maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but I think that game last night, a fit Lee Griffiths, that game would have been tailor-made for him last night.
I mean, even just for set pieces.
Yeah.
It would be a threat for set pieces.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Sometimes you think Clark on Friday night at the England game, the team really buzzed up and playing really, really well. And then sometimes you think they should change things about when things aren't working, like last night. Couldn't they change it? Because, as I say, they were just hitting the long balls to Dykes with a hope. But Adams was just too far away from him to even get the knockdowns and to push on, or maybe the midfield to push through and go beyond. But I just don't know.
Here's what I always look at. And this is a thing I learned from Eddie Walecki. See if somebody takes a bad corner, and when I was at Edgewood, our boys took a bad corner against Celtic, and Celtic almost went up the park and scored. Game finished 2 each, and it was right on the 87th minute, and the guys made the balls it. Craig Truesdale made him that day. Big shout to Craig and son, Trousers. He made a balls to this corner kick, right? So after the game, Eddie had just started with the club, and he balls his in like that. So talk to me about your corner kick. I said, listen, was it? No, talk to me. So I tried to tell him what they were supposed to do. He went, no, it's your fault. And I'm going, what? What are you doing about that? That's my fault. So I'm ready to bite him. So, you talk about, is that my fault? And he went, no, that's your fault. They can't get that right. I'm going, wait a fucking minute here. And then I went, let's see if they can't do this with the tactic board onto the pitch. That's their responsibility. No. So he wind me up to fever pitch. Until 3 weeks after it, he has all the coaches together. And he's looking right at me and he's laughing. And this is the first time I've seen him in the 3 weeks. And he turned around and he said, right guys, I've watched all your games and whatever, and I just wanted to test these. You buy into how I want to do things here. Yeah, no problem. He's but people, I was trying to get reactions out of people. Is that right, Jason? And they just, and I went, no, you're fucking right, you was, mate. He says, what did you learn from that? And I went, do you want my honest answer? He went, no, I don't know what you're thinking me. What did you learn from that situation? And I went, I don't know what you mean, Eddie. He says, well, here's the current situation that you've got. You've got two players on the pitch, try to do a set play, they muck it up. Who do the fans blame? Do they blame the players or do they blame the manager? I'm going, wow. Because right after the game, they're like, you've no got a clue, little, you've no got a clue, blah, blah, blah. And that's what fans do, they just blame the manager for everything. Things that goes 40 yards out the bar, manager gets it. Player might get it for a wee bit, but then after the game, it's the manager. So I looked at some of the comments that were getting branded about, and some of the guys need to look at themselves. I mean, how can Steve Clark control the two strikers? For example, you've said there that we're playing too far apart. Mm-hmm. You can say to them on the game, listen, play now, play together. Mm-hmm. See if they still continue to do it. Take one of them off. And eventually did, but I think it was just too late for him to take it off. Mm-hmm. He might say, I need to freshen it up there, but they need to buy into what they're trying to do. But when you cross that white line, and I'm fed up saying this to everybody now, once you cross that white line, the manager is there to support. That's all he can't kick the ball, can't head on the ball, can't put the ball in the net, can't cross it. It's down to the players.
And they need to take responsibility.
They need to take responsibility, 100%.
That's what they take the money. They're happy to take the wage. No matter how much or how little a player gets, whether it's in the Scottish second division or whether it's in the English Premier League, no matter, you put on that jersey, the fans, the club, the manager, even the players themselves, their teammates are expecting each other to give 100% in the club. If you're going below that, you should know yourself. You don't need anybody. You shouldn't need anybody to tell you, no, I was shite today.
Yeah. You know yourself.
What I was astonished at the other night there was how quick a team can score a goal. And it came from a corner kick against Portugal. Did you see it?
No.
For the corner kick for Ronaldo, picking it up inside his own box and passing it on, right? For the first touch, Ronaldo in his own box to scoring the goal, 14 seconds from one end to another. It was frightening. I mean, the man, in my opinion, is the best all-round player in the world.
Yeah. He just about 36, 37.
Aye, but it's just the way. I mean, I think I heard Rio Ferdinand talking about him the other night there as well, where at Man United, he was just a young kid and he didn't look after himself. And then when he went to Real Madrid, and look at him, it's just a shape of him. I mean, he's a machine.
No, well, I've heard Roy Keane. If you're going to listen to him, you've got to listen to Roy Keane. And Roy Keane would say everything good about him. Came over here, couldn't really talk the language, learned that. It was sort of now the fancy step overs and all that he would do. That was sort of not killed out his game, but he was getting told off by the skipper. Oh, get the ball in, you don't need to beat him about 40 million times. Mm-hmm. So he improved his game. But what Roy Keane was saying was the amount of work that he was doing when his training was finished. Constant professional free kicks, cross balls, doing it yourself, and I mean, all that hard work. And I say this to any young kid out there, if they aspire to be a player in that calibre, that's the things you need to do. That's the extra stuff you need to do. The way his diet is, this country's too many obstacles out there, too many kebab shops, too many McDonald's and whatever. I mean, he's eating salad. I mean, he's just a machine.
I mean, I watched a documentary. I think there's some on, whether it's iPlayer or something like that, I need to catch up on. But I watched a documentary a couple of years ago where and his ability to to jump as high unnaturally. It's just scary how high that man can jump. The leverage that he can get in their legs and to go as high. They've done sort of drills where they were doing crossing the ball.
Yeah, I seen it. The sports science sort of thing.
Aye, and then they turned the light out.
Yeah, I see how many could head on that and in the darkness.
He anticipated where that ball was going to be, at what time, in the darkness, and when they put the light on, they showed you the night vision footage. He put it on with his shoulder.
Yeah,
the guy was the man's scarily good.
Yeah, I've seen that program. Seen that.
I mean, so
I'm just looking at back to our Facebook followers, Peter. Something that we always put a challenge out there to some of the folk who were asking to try to come on board and get their feedback, and also some good questions were highlighted. One from George Ellis. George Ellis has actually got a good few questions on.
Yeah, I was going to send him the login details.
He's obviously talking about Project Brave.
Yep.
Does it work? What's the benefits for it? And I know Sean I know answered him by saying clubs really, in his opinion, have a big factor in it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to agree with Sean, and I'm also going to say that I think these schemes are very important for the next breed. Are they the sole funding on how we get the next Billy Gilman winner? No, 100%, because the club was a big saying that. But to be given that opportunity to basically train as a full-time player at a young age, because that's effectively you're learning your art on a full-time basis as well as doing an education. So for me, guys like Billy Gilmer, who I was quite glad. I think I've seen some on Chelsea TV. I think how James Grady got a wee write up. And by Billy recognised the good work that he done as a platform, obviously before he went into he was already in the Rangers setup, but the academies, along with Project Scotland, or whatever it's called, these days, I mean, but undoubtedly he's into the player. I always say that.
They need to put the effort in.
Right. If the player isn't prepared to put the hard work in, coaches at elite level only put a platform there. It's up to the player to buy into it, to grasp it, to do work on the pitch, to do work away from the pitch, do sacrifices, and to ask a young kid to say, nah, you can't even about the street corners now, pal. We have Bucky Boys and whatever, Martin. I mean, that's... And unfortunately, we're in a country now when you get to that 16, 17, I'm saying no, it's probably not for the last 40, 50 years. But it's just the way the world in this country, isn't it?
There's so many different factors into becoming a footballer, and as you hit it in the head a minute ago about their diet, how they behave out with the club. You know what I mean? When you've got players, when these players start at the performance schools, they're getting looked after during the course of the day, and then they're going to their clubs at night. So these players have got the luxury of being monitored, and they can see that targets are being achieved, whether it's their height, whether it's their weight, whether it's their ability, whether it's something else. And then obviously the clubs are taking control of them as well. They're overseeing everything with the communication with the schools. But as you say, a lot of it is down to the kids' commitment. Don't get me wrong, I think certain clubs could do a whole lot better, because at the end of the day, we all know not every single kid is going to make it. And the high performance clubs,
Yeah.
like your Rangers, like your Celtics, like your Hearts, I think they could do a lot more with regards to a sort of pathway away from them, away from the clubs. Because, I mean, you've been in that position yourself, Jason, where you're having to sit a boy, a young lad down and his parents to say, unfortunately, we're going to release you.
Yeah.
And that's not very nice for anyone.
It's a horrible experience, by the way, and I never use the terminology, you're not good enough.
No.
I never use that because it's, I mean, you try telling 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old kid, nah, you're not good enough. No, I mean, the mental impact that's going to have on a young kid.
But if clubs, I could be totally wrong, right? If clubs, would you not think it'd be better if the clubs softened the blow and says, look, we're not going to renew your contract. However, I've spoken to Motherwell and I've sent them footage. They're very interested in getting you in for a trial. There's a man there. Hi. Oh, there you're there, George. How we doing?
Yeah.
You guys all right?
Good evening, George. How are you, sir?
Well, welcome to the podcast, sir. How you doing?
Very much. I'm all right, guys. Thanks for having us.
Good. You just got us in the middle of speaking about Project Brave, about one of your comments that you made last night.
Aye.
Whether they're working or whatever. And I think Jason and I both says that the clubs and the performance schools can only do so much. The kids and the parents need to take some sort of responsibility as well. But as a parent as well, I would like to think that clubs could soften the blow just a wee bit more by saying, look, we're not going to renew your contract. However, we've spoke to XYZ club. We've sent footage of your games and they would like to get you in, if not for a trial, or they would like to take you on, maybe even offer you a year's contract or something. I think clubs could do a wee bit more than that.
I think, Peter, see what you're just saying there, that's already happening. That already kicks in.
Right.
For example, you know, club David McCallum, I would talk to David or Scott Allison, for example, Partick Thistle,
Yes.
who I got on very well with. Mm-hmm. And they'll come in and say, listen, we've got this striker, he's did really well, here's his attributes, but we've got this other guy, blah, 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 whatever, but we think he's well worth a look at. And that certainly happens. That certainly happens throughout the academy. It's a part of the remit, if I'm brutally honest. It's a part of the remit that we need to, and even if it's just back to a boys' club, you need to try and put a pathway in there to say, listen, and still the biggest thing being, listen, the door's not completely shut. You go back to a boys' club where the scouts watch you again, get your 90 minutes under your belt, whatever, and I mean, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen, but the biggest thing, obviously, for me is you can't destroy a boy's mentality by saying, nah, you're not good enough, son, because I mean, George, you're obviously involved with the boys' club side, and you probably see it yourself that guys who came, they're completely deflated because they've had their heart and soul dreaming on becoming a professional football player, and they're going, oh, it's not to be.
No, I mean, the biggest problem when we get boys in is getting their confidence back up, as you say, Jason. They're absolutely shattered because at a young age they've been told that obviously there's a small percentage of players that go on to make a living at the game, but they're still told that they've got a chance. So when these boys are then released for whatever reason, they think their world's ended. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know that for every Jamie Vardy that we hear about, there's obviously 100 and 200 boys that sort of don't end up getting it through. So what I'd like to see is there was more of a link between either Academy Scotland or the clubs and their local boys teams, you know what I mean, or our local boys clubs. And I think that would obviously help. I know there's a few clubs out there, the likes of your sort of Glenvales and what have you, that I know have got some links with sort of London and what have you. But I think sometimes it's more of the onus is put on the boys clubs to reach out rather than the academies reaching out to boys clubs who have done well, who have been successful, who are all about taking boys to the next level from a coaching perspective rather than about winning games. Winning games is important, but again, the whole point in this is getting boys time on the park and making sure that they're playing as much as they can, because that's the only way to get the smile back in their face.
Yeah. If anybody's watching, they don't know George, you recently took over as head coach at the KH Football Academy, Kevin Harper's. Is that correct?
That's right. That's correct. Aye. Yeah.
So, how did that come about?
Well, what had happened was the last sort of 6 years I've been involved at Clyde with the foundation. But what we've been doing is with that, Clyde at the time, the ex-chairman and who had brought in a thing called Project Braver, which was a spin on Project Brave.
Right.
And it was a tie-in with NL College, where the boys would come in. They would link up with Alan Moore and Sandy Clark and Todd Lumsden at the college and do a level 5. If they'd done that, they could then progress to an HNC, and if they wanted to thereafter progress on an HND. So we've done a lot of work with Danny and Alan, my team in particular, because they were our oldest at the time. On a Tuesday and a Thursday night, we were training most nights alongside the first team at Broadwood, and it's going really well. But unfortunately, like most, COVID kicked in, and it turned out to be unsustainable from a financial standpoint for the foundation. So they made the decision to cut all sort of 11-a-side football for boys from the end of this season just past. So I was actually taking a wee break for the game because I'd say there'd been 5 years at Garnkirk before that as well, and I decided that I was just to say taking a wee break out of it. But then I invoked Kev for my time at Clyde, and he's come in and done a wee bit with the boys now and again, and he approached me to say, look, I've started my new academy. He says I'm looking for coaches to come in and start up teams, and if I'm being honest with you, I think the wife was glad to get me out the house anyway, because that was becoming a pain in the backside. So again, one of the reasons as well is my lad. He's a player as well, you know, and he'd get a wee bit disillusioned, but he's now got his bug back. So he's coming up for 18, so he obviously qualifies for the under-20s as well. And again, the whole premise of what Kevin's trying to do is boys that are released from Pro Youth or Academy Scotland who have been deflated and they want to come back in and get game time. And this is for all age groups. Kevin's looking to do this from 2006s right through to under-20s and potentially have a first team as well. Is to basically get these boys in. And then also boys, effectively what we're looking to do is it will be focusing on elite and obviously development as well. So boys that come for the elite can go, if they lose their confidence, they can drop down into development and get their confidence back, and vice versa. Boys for the development, if they show promise, can go up into the elite teams as well. So we've already been speaking to a few SPFL teams who have shown a bit of an interest in finding out more. We're certainly still at the early stages of it, but I've already had maybe about 15, 16 boys commit to starting up for this season, certainly the under-20s team. Obviously, they've already got the under-18s team going at the moment, and I know that they're starting. They've got 2 coaches in and players to start up a 2007, 2008 team. So slowly but surely it's getting there. But again, it was a brainchild of Kevin. Kevin,
because obviously, with a comment that you made tonight about the under-20s, which we'll go into in a wee bit.
Yeah.
So the concept, are you going to? How do you go about? Are you playing games? Are you playing friendlies? Are you in a league? What's the concept here?
The first year we were a wee bit late applying for West of Scotland, so I've already spoke to a few guys I know in the SPFL academies, and they're willing to play friendlies against us as and when required. We've also got friendlies lined up for, we'll have friendlies lined up with other coaches from other teams at the same level as us as well. So we've got that in place. Ideally then what we want to do is get our application in early for West of Scotland for next year for the Under-20s Development League.
Right.
And sort of take it from there. But the whole point is get boys in, get them playing football again, get them enjoying it again, and then hopefully we can get them moving back up that ladder if they want to go there. And whether that's back into the pro game or junior or amateur, the whole point is to help them try and find a level and where they want to play and where they're most comfortable in it.
See, that's what my view is. I mean, there's a level for everyone.
Yep.
There's a level for everyone. Now, whether that's with the elite of the elite, where you can try and maybe progress, maybe down to the English Premiership or the Championship, whatever the case may be. But even if you're no good enough, you might be good enough for Stirling Albion or the Clydes, the Alloas, the Airdries, that sort of stuff. And then you can build back up again. As you say, get that sort of bite back again, the enjoyment for playing football, because you two guys will see it more than what I would have seen it. I mean, I'll just do the analysis on the games and video the games. I don't get to really know the players, where you guys, you train with them and you know their personalities and you build relationships with them and everything else. And it must be heart-rending when you, like Jason, you need to let them go, or George, when you were with Clyde, when you had to let them go. It must be a lot better for you, George, when you're bringing them in and you're working on not just their playing ability, but I would say their personalities and their confidence.
Exactly. As you touched upon there, Peter, no two boys are the same. I mean, Jason will know itself. Some boys will need an arm around the shoulder. Some boys will need a wee bit more of a sterner talking to. But everybody's got their own personalities and their own things that drive them within the game. Now, whether that be money or fame or whatever, which I hope it's a love of the game. But there are some boys that look at that way. But our whole object is to get them back playing football. Now, whether that's with ourselves and then moving back into the pro game, or as I say, junior or amateur, or just playing for fun with our pals, if that's to choose the path they want to go down. I mean, that's the whole point is there. We're not looking at putting any stumbling blocks in place. We're here to help and aid these boys no matter what path they want to take.
I love the concept behind it, George. I know that, as you know yourself, that they do some parents call it as a token gesture. This when all these players get released, there's an opportunity. They have a day at Tory Glen where they play all these games against each other. They get teams made up of all these released players, and that's an opportunity for scouts and that to have a look at. Well, yours is the complete opposite. Yours is, well, listen, we're trying to bring them back, not just over 1 week or 2 weeks. We're going to try and build them back up again, and hopefully try and progress them back on. Obviously, big Gio McMillan, a good friend of mine, you know. Big Gio's boy, big Matt, one of my old players at Clyde. He was...
Ronaldo just scored a penalty. Ronaldo's just scored a penalty.
Well, just...
Sorry, Jason.
I know Mark was tinkering about in the first team, if I can mind right, at Clyde, but then the opportunity to go to America was too good to turn around. I know the big man's doing exceptionally well over there, and this is what I see as a sort of platform for you guys, is you're rebuilding to bigger and greater things, and obviously you'll probably have clubbed them all Colts or your doorstep, try to get in there as well. And one a good friend of mine, one of the old players, James Orr's now the manager, and another wee pal of mine at Airdrie, wee Jazz, wee playing pal of mine, he's his assistant. He's just went in there, and they're constantly looking for players. Me Jazz in particular. Has just went in. He's just went in, and he's always looking for recommends. So, all right, your job is to build them back up and then take them to where they are. But I think there's still a process that these players need to digest. They need to get in the love of the game again, and they need to feel confident. They need to enjoy it. They need to and I've seen, and you know yourself, George. I mean, my role was never easy releasing any players. My first time I had to do it, I was up at Alloa, and big Stephen, I can't remember, Lauder, I think he said, Stephen Lauder, who's a club captain, and me and Tom McKenna had said, listen, we want to keep him, and shoved Turner and says, no, don't see it. And I mean, he was the first one that we had to say it wasn't going to happen to. Big man was in tears. I mean, you're saying that to a 40-year-old kid.
No, I know.
And this is where opinions, and this is how we can love the game or we can hate the game. It's all about opinions, but the biggest message that we always say is we'll do whatever we can to get you another club, to put you in the right direction so you're still in love with the game, so you're still playing. But I know clubs out there that just, it's a token gesture. They'll say, we'll look after you there, and they don't.
Mm-hmm. I've seen too many.
I mean, Jason, I think I've said to you before that a few years ago, well, about 3 years ago, I was doing an analysis with Morton, and I get invited to go with Jerry Britton with an elite academy select team down to Wigan and Sunderland to play a game. And I was just chatting to one of the other coaches who's for Dundee United, and he was coaching under 15s. And then during one of the water breaks, he says to his players, look, have a wee look over there at the under 11s. He says, he said to the players, when was the last time you enjoyed your football like that? Now, what does that say to you?
Pressure.
Is the players getting overcoached now, do you think?
No, well, I'm going to say no, because I mean, it's. I think.
Now, we all know football is a tough world.
Yeah,
you need to make tough decisions, and you hit the nail on the head, Jason, just a wee while ago. A lot of sacrifices need to be made by everyone, not just the players. Yeah. Like for you guys, the coaching staff.
I look at. I'm always been a big believer. I mean, let them play until they're about 13. Let them play. Just let them play with their pals. Don't get involved with the pro youth side and that. Just let them play. Let them enjoy themselves. But then that's, for me, that's then the cut off 13. If they see a talent there, take a chance with it, take them on board. But that's the opportunity for me to turn around and say, but here's what's going to change for your boys club. Mm-hmm. And you'll know within 6 to 7 weeks if there's a possible change that they're going to buy into it, or they're just going to go, no, I want to go back to my boys club, I'm not really enjoying this.
But even up to the age of 13, if you've signed for a club like Motherwell, Rangers, Celtic, whatever, these clubs are stopping you playing with your high school.
Yeah.
Or even taking the chance to go and play with your pals.
How we've compensated that, Peter, is I think, George, you'd commented on the Project Brave thing and the high school excellence thing. That's what we're trying to do, school excellence thing. This is where these clubs see these high schools as that. I've been involved with Peter, that you'd play against another team and they would know, by the way, he plays with that, mm-hmm. And it's just, it's a vicious game. Within 10 minutes you're getting chopped down and whatever, and there's, what kids can be like. We were all there at one time. There's that there's no the green eye monster. There's a bit of jealousy there with it, and just getting the head under the duvet or whatever it may be.
What was that? Getting the head under a duvet? Is that what you said?
No, they're going to do
it. A teenager boy does that.
Maybe in Camas nothing, not up here. But with regards to these school excellence, that's where I see that's what these clubs look at to say, right, here's your opportunity to play at your school, play your pals, but you're still getting elite coaching.
Mm-hmm. No, I try to get best of both worlds.
I think, Jason, again, you'll know better than myself from the academy side of it, but we're speaking to Alan Moore, who's had a lot of boys in college for the likes of Partick Thistle and Motherwell and Queen's Park, but they also attract boys that come in and do these college courses from non-academy Scotland teams. Our boys just coming through and off the street. And he said a lot of the times it's attitude that's the biggest problem with a lot of boys in Academy Scotland. They think they're better than they are, and they think they're better than the boys who are coming in. I mean, he told me a couple of unnamed boys that they come in and they were doing a bleep test, but they walked off at 10 because they were like, well, I'm at Academy Scotland, I don't need to do this. You know what I mean? And it's like, sometimes you can have all the ability in the world, but see if you've not got the right attitude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the thing.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of clubs like sending their kids down to the sort of lower divisions with a reality check, because we've all seen it. If you're at the elite clubs like your Rangers and Celtic, everything is laid out for you. I mean, if you get in the morning, getting your urine test done, getting your breakfast done, getting your warm-up, having the top of the range gym and indoor pitches to do warm-up and ball skills and all sorts, all the kit is set out for you. Everything is on a plate for you. And then all of a sudden, you go to somewhere like Berwick Rangers or something like that, and it's no as prestige.
Prestige, yeah.
It's a culture shock to some of them. And I think that's a good thing, because then it brings it back down. Because when you listen to players in the olden days, where they had to clean boots, clean the stands after games, do their apprenticeship, make teas and everything else. When was the last time these players done that? They've never done it in their life.
So, some of the old school things have all gone. I mean, cleaning boots. I was forever cleaning boots till the dog's just gone after you. But I mean,
I heard Jason getting out off a good lady.
We'll start again with that one. I mean, cleaning boots was a part of the trade.
Aye.
You know, top wages, but you always got a brace of bones at Christmas time for the first team player. So part of the role. And then tidying up the stands as well. I mean, we've got all these. I mean, back then it was just that. It's what you knew you had to do to try and stay in that pathway. And you say to yourself, what's tidying up a stand going to do to get me into to become a football player? But it keeps you grounded. Mm-hmm. It keeps you grounded to say that, well, hang on, I might not be here. I might be a road sweeper. I might be a taxi driver, whatever the hell it is. I mean, so for me, that grounding has gone.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I might be wrong, but I'm positive when I was with Rangers, Billy Gilmore at 15 was getting sponsored by Adidas.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
it's frightening.
It's Dapo and players like that. They were getting sponsored, getting boots, and then obviously the goalkeepers like Liam Kelly and stuff like that. They were getting goalkeeping gloves and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, the talent's here. And the guys that I mentioned, they've worked really, really hard, and the commitment's here and the sacrifice. So that's where Billy Gilmore has ended up with the Scotland national team and playing with Chelsea in the Champions League final and everything else. So he deserves that, because he has done a lot, and the talent there. Now, going on to one of the other points, George, that you mentioned, was news from today. What was that about the 20s?
So basically, obviously the last 18 months with COVID, there's been no football, or next to no football.
Yeah.
But for some reasons, yes, the SFA in their wisdom have decided that for the coming year, 2001s won't be allowed to be qualified for under 20s this year. Now, there was talk that they would have a year's good grace because of the year that they lost due to COVID. But now 2002s, 2003s that will be able to play football at under 20 level for next season or this coming season. So effectively, you're potentially going to lose hundreds of boys through the game who it's late in the day now for a lot of these West of Scotland teams who, I'm not talking about the 20s, but obviously the Lowland leagues and the West of Scotland leagues, where a lot of them have got their squads already now. So where are these boys going to go? Where are they going to get game time? How are they going to play? So are we going to lose another handful of boys to the game, or young men to the game, never to see them again? You know what I mean? This is the thing.
So have they just specifically targeted the 2001s?
Yeah, they basically, there'll be no 2000s or 2001s allowed to play under 20 football next season. And that was announced today by the SFA. I don't know the reasoning behind it, but again, a lot of the teams were expecting a year's good grace because that year we lost due to COVID. But they've decided to go against the wishes of all the clubs, and these boys are now going to be potentially lost to the game if they can't get.
George, here's my take. Here's my take on it, and I'd like to see what your thoughts are on it. I always think when I was with Airdrie, for example, I was under 18s there, and I always thought to go from 18s to reserve football was a ridiculous jump, because you know what some of these reserve teams can do. They can put half their first team down. I mean, I can mind the wee Jazz playing against Livingston, and they had half the first team playing that. No, are we going to learn anything? We're going to learn how they're going to easily get pushed off a ball, how they're not physically developed yet, and blah, blah, blah. The game's a lot quicker. That's the things they're going to learn. Yes, I get that. But my take on it is there's no way the SFA, and I criticise the SFA quite a bit. I criticise it on this channel, and I criticise it because there should be a simpler solution for it. You've already said under 20s cannot figure out why they're punishing. It's probably the best word to say it. How they're punishing the kids are now.
Oh. Hello?
Okay, I'm saying
Right, sorry about that, lads. My Wi-Fi went down. And what is it?
Yeah, I get slagged all last week for it. Twice it happened to me, but our leader was fucked up again.
I think we were just talking about the under-20s and potentially looking at under.
Yeah, you're right. So I can't figure out for the life of me how they can't go under 23s. I know Stevie Collins with Cali Braves. He was fortunate enough. I think he'd had 2 years working with them, but as a younger squad. And I think they were playing in a tournament the other day, which they won. But I think it was. They just won it. Was it Friday night? Was it last Friday?
Sunday, I think it was. It was a
Sunday.
I think.
But I just, for the life of me, I have to feel sorry for the players. I feel sorry for the coaches. That common sense isn't being prevailed here.
No, far from it.
I think the biggest problem is that when I was at Clyde, we were in the CSFA, and there was a meeting before the end of the season, and I think the problem was it's getting a league or an association to accept starting an under-23s league, because I would imagine there'll be quite a bit of logistics that come with that. But I think it'd be a great idea, because if you've got these West of Scotland teams or Lowland League teams where if you've got an under-23s team, if you've got 2 or 3 players for first team coming back for injury, you can play them in your under-23s but have a cap on it. Mm-hmm. So you're still basically just focusing on the younger guys in the squad who are getting game time, you know what I mean? So it's a happy medium for all parties. But I just think this year with everything that we've went through, that to lose then another X amount of 100 boys is criminal.
Because you'd be frustrated as it is because of the lack of football I've played for the last 15 months or so. Because obviously they started and then it got stopped again, didn't it?
Right. Well, we were playing when I was at Clyde. We played just before Christmas last year. We played Stirling Albion and we played Alloa, and we beat both of them. And we were meant to go and play Hearts. John Rankin was putting together a sort of select team because they were looking at boys again that they were looking to keep and looking to move. But then lockdown part 2 came in again, so we went for playing no football right up to October, then playing 4 or 5 games and flung into lockdown again. And for that team I had at Clyde, there's already, I know at least 5 boys who have just chucked it all together because they were like, what's the point of training because we can't play games? And they just get fed up with it, you know what I mean? Some of them
I'm right saying you team over for Big Josh Gardner, am I right saying that?
Big George originally had the team and I took it over back in 2015, I think it was. And then George went and went in with the the 2004s. So I did the 2003s, George did the 2004s, along with Ryan Gorman at Clyde. But again, it's just...
No, sorry, Josh. Big Josh.
Oh, Josh, yeah, Big Josh Gardner. He had the 21s, but they only get kept on for 1 season, and they were promised the earth by, again, people behind the scenes. Not the management team, but after a year they folded them. So a lot of these boys had played for the first team in sort of Glasgow Cup, and some of them were bench for SPFL games, and then they were sort of released. So I know a couple of the boys have went abroad, a couple of the boys have went to other sort of junior teams and what have you. But again, it's boys that are getting lost. You know what I mean? Because there's just not enough football being played, and to then make this crazy decision today about the under-21s, the under-20s with the 2001 age group. Again, you've got a whole generation of players there that can be lost forever but never get them back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you never know, there could be a gem or a diamond in there that we never actually see.
It's a certainty. There'll be a few gems in there, I believe. You just sometimes wonder, the SFA, they've just been political.
Yeah.
They're not doing it for any sort of rhyme or reason. It's just there'll be some sort of underhand. Well, no underhand. I don't want to say that, but there'll be some sort of political reason behind it. Why they're trying to make these decisions.
I think finance is the biggest thing, guys. To be honest, I mean, I know what it's like with the pro youth levels. The criteria that we have to get to get a certain amount of money, club doctors, physios at every game, analysis every game, you know that. It's a game of football. Come on, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a game of football. Support the guys who, I mean, the biggest thing nowadays is UEFA accredited pitch, right? Mm-hmm. And I tell you, I noticed it last night. We were training Monday night. There was a big thing up in the local paper about this, and Inverclyde Council has just got 2 brand new AstroTurf pitches done, UEFA accredited, to get the criteria. I don't know how much a pitch costs, about 110 grand or something.
I wouldn't think it'd be cheap.
They've said about $250,000 anyway for 2 pitches to get this accreditation. And the local Woodlands last night have done a wee fire right in the corner, and there's a big patch on it. And this is what I think we need to realise, that we don't have. In fact, these pitches are all barriered. The whole lot. That's all it. A nice wee fire right in the corner with some of the class clowns, and I mean, there has to be some sort of realism in there to say, well, hang on, this is like an area where this could be expected. There has to be a bit of slack and whatever. So when it comes to grants, well, listen, we can't be. We could play on grass pitches, and this is the biggest problem I see. Dundee play up at Dundee Airfield, and the pitches are terrible. Like Crew Park's full of bumps, but because it's grass, they get the reward for it. And again, the grant money that they gave. I mean, unfortunately, Sean's on the show tonight, but he knows all about the grant money, and it's not that. See, when you take and players, coaches' wages and club doctors and all this, and then pitches. Never mind all that. Pitches. Mm-hmm. The club to say we need support. So if you don't have the money, it's a tough gig.
Because I remember when I went to Morton, one Hawk invited me down to his house, and I had to put a 3-year plan together on just solely analysis and how we were going to progress it through the club. So God knows, that was a few years ago, so God knows the sort of hoops that you need to jump through. These days, it's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. I mean, we KH Academy, George, I mean, what sort of admin sort of side of things do you need to go? What sort of specifications do you need to achieve?
We've obviously right at the beginning, thankfully we've got a boy who was at Clydewares who has come in to take over all admin aspects for the whole club. He's going to do that. That's his sort of speciality. But we've just to get started, just to get us registered with the SYFA as a new club. You've had to put a constitution together, you've had to put statements together, you've had to get referees, you've had to get this, that and the next thing. So, I mean, for the last 6 weeks, we've been jumping through all sorts of hoops. And then you've got the added pressure where the SYFA don't get back to you in a timely manner. I mean, they'll tell you we need something in 48 hours. You get it into them and then you wait 4 weeks for them to get it back to you. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying we're any special case, but if they're expecting you to do it, at least give us a chance coming back to us a wee bit sooner than that. You know what I mean? Obviously, some of the other teams are looking to get into leagues, but they've got a cut-off at the end of this month. So, but thankfully, I think we're now at the end of that hurdle and we'll be able to get teams registered for this season and get players playing in competitive leagues. But again, it's all about getting these boys on the park and getting them game time and getting them enjoying the football again. Because that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
George, I know. Obviously, Kevin and I were at Airdrie together. Kevin was there looking after the 20/reserves. Then, what sort of criteria are they looking for at that level? They're looking for like an A license or a B license guy, or is it just a freedom, or have they still got the restrictions there?
At the younger age groups, you need a minimum of 1.2 for that. But like myself and some of the other guys, we've done children's license, we've done C license and things like that. But I know Kev's obviously got his A, and I'm not sure. I think he's got his pro as well. But again, for the older groups, we'll be looking for guys, coaches to come in. But this academy is not just about second chances for boys at pro youth. It's about giving coaches a second chance who have maybe been at academies and they've no, for whatever reason, like I know Airdrie, for example, obviously they get for the other boys a wee while back. So I know a few guys that coach there who are still not back in the game, you know what I mean? So I've approached a few guys I know for there, but it's just not the right time for them. But it's all much getting coaches involved as well as players, because that was a big community. Everybody knows everybody somewhere down the line, you know what I mean? And if we can put the hand out to help as many people as we can, youth and adults, then that's the whole point of doing it, you know what I mean? The whole point is making that a community where everybody helps everybody. And it's only going to be for the greater good in the long term. I mean, this is a long-term plan. We've got a 3 to 5 year plan. Kev's looking at premises where we'll actually have our own academy, our own premises, our own facility. But again, this first year is all about getting people in, bedding it in, getting the name out there, and taking from there. Because stability. That's a building blocks. I say to Kevin, if we don't get the building blocks right, and we don't get that foundation right, then the likelihood is it'll crumble. But this is why we're taking our time, we're doing it right, we're getting the right people involved, and that way it goes from strength to strength, and it helps as many people as we possibly can.
How are you getting the funding for this? Is this where grants are coming in, or sort of donations and fund? Because normally with boys clubs and things like that, we all know we have charity nights and fundraising nights, that sort of thing, to help bring in the funds, whether it's for kits or travelling to games, to and from games. I mean, how are you going about funding for this?
Well, basically, every team that comes in, basically what they're looking to do is they're looking to bring in a sponsor. So all the kit will be conformed, everybody will be wearing the same kit, but each age group will be able to have their own shirt sponsor on the front of their top, so they can basically bring in their own sponsors. We'll be looking for the boys to pay monthly fees when they come in. Obviously, that'll help fund pitch hires, ref fees, lets, what have you. But Kevin and Ryan and they've got another boy, James, and they're looking extensively at grants and lottery funding and this, that, and next in Sports Scotland. So these things are already in play at the moment and the applications are in place. But again, the first year is all about building the name, building the foundation and taking it from there. So like my team, we've already got quite a bit of funding in place just through people we know for football and other businesses through the years. But again, it's slowly but surely we're getting there, because ideally what we want to do is we want to be initially at the end of it, we want to be self-funding. Now, whether that's through a big sponsor who sponsors the academy, or it will be sort of continued donations from local businesses or whatever it may be. But that's the main aim. It's basically to be self-sufficient in the next 3 to 5 years. That way we can look at bringing boys in and we give them everything they need, but it doesn't cost them anything out their pocket, you know what I mean, in the long term.
What sort of ages then, George, are you looking at? Because I know obviously when it comes to these grants, the more clubs or teams you've got applying for the grant, it certainly helps and make a bigger grant than what you're looking for. What is it like junior academy right through to 20s, or?
That's basically it, mate. Yeah, it's from a junior academy right through to 20s. Ideally, what we want to do in the long-term vision is to have like the Caledonia Braves have done, for saying sake, have a team in the west of Scotland and enter the pyramid, and whether that be at the bottom, which we expect it to be, and work our way up. We would sort of love to do something like that, but again, that's in the future. The here and now is basically getting the foundation built, getting the name out there, and basically trying to reach as many boys lost from the game, because initially that's our aim, but we want to then bring in girls football, we want to bring in walking football, we want to basically make it a whole sort of community effort where we're attracting girls that are lost for the game for whatever reason, you know what I mean. We're looking at mental health charity, bringing boys in for mental health and putting a game in, will it be over 50s or walking football, whatever it may be. These are all things that we've got happening, or we see happening in the future.
A community club. A
community club, basically, that's what it is, mate. A community club that's self-sustained in the long term, but initially we are looking at as much help as we can get to get it off the ground. And the more people that know about the name, and the more boys that know about it who can come in and they can play football without any pressure of having to impress managers or coaches, just come in and enjoy it. We'll give them the best coaching that they possibly can get as well through the guys that we've got in, and basically build relationships with other clubs in the SPFL and beyond, where they know that if they've got boys that are not going to make it at their club for whatever reason, they can come to us and we can basically help them move them on to another club. And as you said, Peter, help them find a level no matter where that is, whether that's back into the pro game or amateur or youth or just playing with their pals on a Saturday. We'll help them get there, and that's the whole point of it.
Listening to you, I'm sure, I don't doubt that it'll be a big success, to be honest with you. Going on to another point is, what's your thoughts on the Scotland game yesterday? How do you think it went?
Well, I'd said prior to the tournament starting, I thought, right or wrong, I thought we should have had Griffiths in the squad. I thought we should have had a goal scorer in the squad. They hurt me, Kevin Nisbet. He's young. He's going to get a lot better. I know he scored against Holland in the pre-season games, or pre-tournament games, but I don't think the boys really done themselves justice yesterday. I knew he was going to go with the same team apart from Gilmore last night, but for me, I thought, again, and I've been saying it from the beginning, and I thought Nathan Patterson should have been in last night at right fullback, or James Forrest. He is more of an attacking threat. I think we basically stood off them too much in the midfield. I think when Grant Hanley went off, we should have changed the shape then, because I think we were getting overrun in the middle of the park with too many people behind the ball.
We said that, yeah.
We should have changed the shape. and they probably took off Dykes and put on another attacking midfielder, or brought McTominay back up into midfield and put another centre-half in. Because I found it strange where the first 2 games he's played Liam Cooper and Jack Hendry. Then when Hanley went off last night, he brought in Andy Considine. To me, it didn't make any sense.
No, you'd automatically think he would have brought Cooper on.
Exactly, or Cooper and Hendry, you know what I mean? I know a lot of people blamed Jack Hendry for the second goal in the Czech Republic game, but I'm of a different opinion. I don't think Hendry was at fault there. I think, obviously, Marsh was obviously well off his line. I generally don't.
Of course.
I think if you look at Jack Hendry, he's 30 yards for goal. Why not have a pop? I mean, he's well within that range. The game that he hit the bar later on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the players round about him, a lot more players in front of him rather than, I mean, he had the option of playing it out to O'Donnell out on the right.
Nah, but even if you look at it...
We've all got a degree in hindsight, they should have done this and should have done that. I mean, we've got the luxury of watching replays and pausing football and everything else and running over it and analysing it.
You're 100% right, George, because it's a different story if it goes in the back of the net, isn't it?
Exactly. But if you look at that as well, if you look at the freeze frame, whatever centre-half and whatever full-back's far too wide on the other side. They've not come across to cover that space at Henry's left because Marsh is so far up. They've obviously left that to Marsh thinking he's going to sweep that. But again, rather than looking at the negative, you've got to see the positive. The boys hit a wonder strike, you know what I mean? And it's in the back of the net. Probably looking at the goal of the tournament at the moment. But last night, I thought they looked leggy. I thought maybe a lot of Friday night took it out of them. But again, people were saying we were going to go in and beat Croatia. I mean, these guys are the World Cup finalists. They've got a Ballon d'Or winner in the last couple of years, you know what I mean? Even at 35, the guy is different gravy, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know.
But again, as you say, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but we could have all decided on changes we could have made last night, but effectively, I think we were getting a wee bit ahead of ourselves. Croatia are a right good team, and I think you'll see them push on now that they've qualified for the next phase, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think we should have won the first game. They have 19 chances at goal. I think Steve Clarke's option of play last night was just route one, direct football, and that's the reason why he kept Dykes on, just to punt it up. The Dykes did win a few headers, but there were no players near him to follow up, or the midfield weren't running beyond him. And as Jason and I says, Adams was just too far. They were too wide apart for him to get the second ball. So they were just sweeping it up, passing it back onto Modric, and they were just sweeping through the midfield. And they've done it that way. But as I said, we've all got a degree in hindsight. They should have done this. They shouldn't have done that.
And I think O'Donnell as well. Again, I think he redeemed himself against England. But I thought last night he was a bit dodgy for 2 of the goals as well, where he's been facing on with the guy coming towards him. If he's standing side on, he sees the guy coming down his other side, and obviously he's got a standing start for the first, the one that's come on for the first goal, and obviously Perisic's goal, you know. But again, as you say, it's all if much of babies. But I think
McGregor's got to do. I think Cal McGregor's got to do better there with the first goal, George. I mean, when it's a cross ball, and McTominay. There probably could have been a shout for a goal. I don't know if there was, but McGregor for me has to recognise that, because the worst thing about it is the guy's actually had a touch before he puts it in the back of the net. So for me, just drop in. I mean, the guy's only about 5 yards away from him. He's a danger, and it's always good to double up instead of go man for man. I thought O'Donnell done all right, but I did say earlier on, just before he come on, George, that I would have put the Patterson fella on. I think, and I would have taken Dykes off and just went for more pace up top in the wider areas. But again, we're all wonderful in the aftermath, aren't we?
I think his remit was to get us there, Stevie Clarke. You know what I mean? I don't think there was any great expectation on him to qualify. But again, I thought the first game, as you say, Peter, killed us. If we'd have won that game and then we get the result against England, and last night's a bounce game, it's a formality for us, you know what I mean? But listen, let's hope it's not another 23 years before we're at another major tournament. That's the main thing.
I know. Now, I looked at a couple of stats, obviously, from the England game, because I've not seen the stats in from last night's game yet. So what I'll do is I'll try and bring them up. So bear with me 2 seconds. I'll try and. Because some of the stats, I mean, we obviously look through, and I quite like looking through stats and how things are done. So, okay, bear with me 2 seconds till I find out how to work this bloody thing. Right, so the sort of area of play, right? I'll just bring this into there. Can you see that all right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so out wide, this is for the England game, so you could tell everything. A lot was going through the sort of out and the right, and maybe that's the reason for him using O'Donnell for the second game, where for the third game. But you can see that. I mean, that's Adams in it, number 9.
Yeah,
he's coming in, obviously to play that sort of number 10 role, I suppose, and just keeping Dykes up. Now, I would assume he never really made any sort of forward passes. And what's your thoughts?
Jason, if you want to go first and see.
No, don't carry on, George. Carry on.
No, I think what we've done differently to the England game to last night is we, again, and I don't want to just say it's all about Billy Gilmour, but that lad was looking to get the ball on the turn all the time and play a forward pass.
Yeah.
He was telling players he wanted it on the left, he wanted it on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he dictated the rhythm of the midfield in there. I don't think their midfield three get anywhere near us in that England game. That's also why I thought last night he would have went with Turnbull rather than Armstrong in there. Mm-hmm. I basically thought Armstrong flatters deceive at times. I think he does a job for Southampton very well, but more often than not, he gets the heat down and he just runs with the ball. He doesn't have that look up. He doesn't have that second passes. And I think he was, again, a wee bit at fault for one of the goals last night as well, where no getting out and pressing quick enough. But I thought in Friday night, basically, more of it went down the O'Donnell side, because I think we were basically just dictating the pace, the play of the game. I don't think England realised exactly we could play as well as we did. Mm-hmm. And I think it took them by surprise, apart from the first 10 minutes where they've hit the post and what have you. But I think a lot of that, again, was to do with Tierney and Robertson as well. Because I don't care what world-class team you've got, I struggle to see a left-sided side of the park any better in world football at the moment than Tierney and Robertson.
They too. Yeah, they certainly know their jobs. I mean, there I've highlighted Billy Gilmour there, right? So for his pass forward, I mean, he puts that 64% success rate. His backward pass, 99%. Yeah. No, 100%, sorry. Even I can't bloody see that.
It's a great start. I mean, it's very clear that a talented player, such a really young age, and he was certainly missed. I think just talking about last night, George, I think that we were very leggy in certain areas. You're right. I thought we were quite standoff, but I think a lot of that might be down to formations now, because we like to go for this block, didn't we? And the game is now, instead of going touch tight, man for man, it's now a base of 5 with 3 in front, and then a 5-3-2 formation, and the 3 are basically working left to right, and then they're doing their blocks, and I was surprised he never changed. I really like Armstrong, to be honest. I'm quite a big fan of his, but I think we needed a cutting edge, and I have to agree. I did say David Turnbull was probably that guy who could have possessed it. I just felt that Kevin Nisbet could have been on it a lot sooner as well. And I just couldn't figure out where Ryan Fraser was fitting in that, because I was saying that to earlier on to Peter. We got 2 strikers here. We see the guy who's supposed to go beyond or for the knock-ons or whatever, I'd have went 3-4-3, and just went for it. I think that the country would have been like, yeah, if we can, because when you get guys like Jose Mourinho turning around saying you stop that midfield four in Croatia, you give yourself a chance. And I mean, if you stand off, well, the second goal, I mean, what a world class goal. But
yeah,
if you're in his face, does he do that?
No.
It's not here saying it.
I thought they got between the lines a lot better last night than England did, certainly in Friday night. Again, but I think that was down to us looking terribly leggy last night. I think they put so much into Friday night, and I know they're elite sports people, but again, I just thought the whole hoopla of Friday night, Scotland, England, the pressure that was involved, having to get a result, I think there was a wee bit of an anticlimax, because you scored right before half time last night. You're expecting us to come out for the second half and to be absolutely flying.
Yeah.
I thought when we came out for the second half, we were dead lethargic. I just didn't think we still had that same energy about us. But
I don't get it, because the crowd were right behind them. For 12,000, the stadium was jumping. They knew what was at stake. They knew they could possibly make history and get to the next round. And was that Stevie Clarke's fault? Was it a player's fault? I don't know. But no, as I said, we've all got a degree in hindsight, and it just didn't work out after that. You say it could have been lethargic. The players could have just been totally mentally and physically drained.
Sorry, Charles, carry on.
I was going to say, I think at times what Scotland we need to sort of up our game with regards to our phases of play. I mean, gone are the years where you get the ball out wide and you whipped it into the box for the big striker to get a nut onto it or a knockdown into the other striker. And I know we played two up top in the last two games, but again, how many times have we cut the ball back for a runner coming into the middle of the park? I can't recall us doing that at all. I know we got the break of the ball from McGregor's goal last night, but I can't remember a midfield runner coming from midfield deep to attack a ball with a cut back for the edge of the box. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I just think sometimes we tend to go a wee bit too route one, especially in the first game.
That's the reason for keeping Dykes on.
The first game, I thought Dykes, you could tell in the first 10 minutes, they're two big centre halves of 6'4" and 6'5". You know what I mean? They were over the top of him for the first 10 minutes. So, but again, we just continue to hit the high ball up to him for a knock on, and hopefully somebody get in behind. But again, hindsight is a wonderful thing, as we say. But again, is it Stevie Clarke's fault? Is it the players? Is it a bit of both? Time will tell, you know what I mean? But again, I think we've got the nucleus to squad.
I still think he's the right guy to take us forward, though, George.
That's what my question was going to be. Do you think he is the right guy for the job?
I think he's got to be given the opportunity to get us to the World Cup next year. Mm-hmm. My only concern is I think Stevie Clarke is a type of manager that will go out not to lose the game, rather to try and to win it. Again, that's the way I see his playing. Certainly that was his style of play at Kilmarnock. I think he set his team up not to lose. That might have just been he could only play the cards he had at Kilmarnock. But again, those we've got coming through, I mean, the KTs, the Gilmores and Turnbulls and the likes of that, these boys coming through, I think they're the next generation, and if we can keep progressing the way we are, then we've got every chance of qualifying for next year's World Cup.
I just don't buy into this whole he's a stubborn manager. I just don't buy it. I'll tell you why I can support that. If he was a stubborn manager, he wouldn't have played Billy Gilmour on against England. I mean, let's look at it.
No, it could be stubborn. That'd be just stupid if he didn't.
Was that pressure for the press and pressure for the media?
I don't think he's that type of manager.
No, I don't think he's the sort of guy who get bullied.
I think he can have the bombshells, George, and he was still in the game. He's worked with the best managers in the world, right? So, and for the high pressure that these guys that he's worked with, it's certainly rubbed off on him. And I think with his intelligence, and this is where people will be so easy to criticise them, but they don't think of the good things, or they don't remember the good things. I mean, he started Billy Gilmour. It was the correct decision. I mean, I still believe that the pure pressures of the press and the media and that, if they just went, no, you don't tell me how set up.
I don't think he's a manager.
I think he's applauded for that, because I mean, even though Billy Gilmour, he's played a handful of games for Chelsea. I think it was the correct move. I mean, because I'm a big Billy Gilmour fan, but I think it was a brave. See if it had went horribly wrong. I mean, that could have been pie in his face. You don't know what could have happened to Billy Gilmour's mentality after that, going back to his club. Mm-hmm. So it's a brave decision to do, especially when it was a half a cap he had. Well, it was a cap, but it was only for half a game.
Yeah, injured against Luxembourg.
So big call, and when he got right, and mistakes. He's going to make mistakes. The players are going to make mistakes, but I see going into the World Championships for Qatar, and then obviously the next European Championships. I mean, this is still a young side, and I think we'll go into bigger and greater things.
Mm-hmm. I'm just watching this.
We need to get a strike force. We need a better strike force.
Strike force and a goalie. I'm just watching this France-Portugal game. That's France are 2-1 up, and Portugal, Ronaldo's just got a second penalty. So
on that then, can we go watch it?
Hi. I think we'll end it there. So just very quickly, who's been your best team so far in the tournament?
I think so far I've really been impressed with Belgium and the Italians. I think the Italians have looked very, very good, but they've not come up against an electric strike force yet. But again, Belgium and Italy have been the two standouts for myself.
My three teams, George, were Belgium, Italy, and Portugal. That was my three teams.
Well, I've got Portugal in my sweep.
On my redraw last week for the tournament, I picked out Hungary, right? At half time, they were beating Germany 1-0.
Aye, and I've seen that. I've not seen an update on the score yet, but
no. Other team is North Macedonia, right enough, but that's by the by.
I think the one that everybody's was surprised by was how poor Turkey were, because they were a dark horse before the tournament. You know what I mean? But they've been.
So that's Poland out. That's Poland out now.
I saw that earlier. They're out as well. Lewandowski.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The sort of dark horse. Sweden, they topped the group.
Aye. But Spain looked good tonight as well. But you know, I mean, they've looked 5-0 against Slovakia. Although the Hungarian boy for Newcastle, the goalie, had an absolute howler for the first own goal.
Well, going in the current results, Germany are bottom of the league.
Is it still 1-0 in that other game? I take it.
Aye. Hungary's third. Our joint second, I suppose, with Portugal with 4 points.
I took Germany not to make it out of the group. That was that.
Really?
I took them not to make it out of the group. Aye.
I've got them in sweep.
Anyway, gentlemen, I think we'll call it a night.
George, thanks for coming in. You're the first Facebook. People will come on board. We'll try and we're going to make this we're obviously building up to bringing some of the pros back on again, and but thanks for coming on board. Pleasure to have you.
Listen, it's a pleasure, guys, letting you guys know about the academy and what we're looking to achieve. But the more people that find out about it, obviously the better it'll be for the game, hopefully in the long run. But it's been a pleasure, guys. I enjoyed it tonight.
Likewise, enjoyed your time, and you've always made really good points on the Facebook page, and I really enjoy your input to the group. So thanks very much for that, George. All the very best with the academy. As I say, I'm sure it'll be a great success for you and Kevin. And let's hope it's a good season for you, and some of the lads get a wee bit get moved on to bigger and better things.
Well, that's the whole point. That's what we're looking to do. So, the more the merrier. We can get them moved on and get them playing again. That's our job done.
And
what we'll do as well, George, is we'll put something on the Facebook page if any players out there who get released or whatever, put your details on it. And feel free to contact Peter, and we can get a link. And through the website, we can certainly do that as well.
No bother, because I know that'd be a great help. So thank you very much.
No bother at all, George. And Jason, thanks very much once again for your time. Enjoy the rest of your night. Right, take care.
Yeah, guys. Cheers, thanks.
Ta-ta.